I'm joined by Chris Skinner. Chris is chairman and founder of the Financial Services Club. Just had Manus talking about that bonus side of things. Got the bosses there at Barclays saying they're not going to take one. Now, what sort of message is that sending out? Is it a political one primarily?
Well, Barclays is getting a bit of a squeeze from the Treasury and FSA not to go over the top on bonuses because it would set a bad example for all the other banks in their view. And therefore, it's a token gesture by the management to say, yes, we are taking note of this. There's a rumour that they might cap some of the bonuses anyway, which could be an issue for some of the London bankers unless they did that worldwide. So I think it's a token gesture.
What message does it send out to some of these other banks which are reporting this week?
Well, to a large extent, it's a competitive battlefield. RBS are rumoured to be paying around £60,000 average bonus compared to £100,000 near enough at Barclays. So it sends out a message to say, temper it down, let's try not to be too decimating of the competitive battlefield over bonuses, and let's stabilise the markets and give the FSA good news.
I mean, we just heard Manus say this, it's as a percentage of revenues, Barclays actually pays more in bonuses than Goldman Sachs.
Exactly. I mean, it's only 38% of revenues, though, down from 44% last year. So they would say, actually, we reduced the percentage proportion, but then income grew by 34% at the top line.
Does it also just take the dialogue out there away from these payouts as well, do you think? Do you think it bursts that balloon?
No, the bonuses dialogue will carry on regardless, and the G20 will continue to think about what to do about it. And at the end of the day, it's likely that most banks will move towards some form of deferred shares bonus scheme rather than cash now.
Let's just talk about also a regulation out there as well. We've got the government wanting to do far more in terms of regulation. Is there a danger this could really seriously damage competition for London?
To an extent, but having said that, Paul Volcker announced his plan of banning prop trading and splitting investment banking from retail banking. The UK Treasury Select Committee is talking about the same thing, narrow banking. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens in terms of long term. Will Barcap be spun off into a separate company?
That's what I'm going to ask you. I mean, you know, would Bob Diamond like to be in charge of a whole thing, or do you think he'd like to be in charge of a narrow bank?
Bob Diamond's an investment banker through and through. Why would he want to be group chief executive of something that's boring like commercial and retail banking?
Right, OK. But let's just talk about Lord Turner saying yesterday there's little evidence financial innovation is beneficial in the longer term. What did you make of those comments?
I totally disagree. Innovation in banking has been persistent throughout history and has proven that you don't get progress, growth and commercial GDP expansion without some form of innovation in finance. So to not say banking has been innovative is stupid.
Anybody says it caused the crisis. You have to say a lot of these credit default swaps and asset-backed securities were manipulated in such a fashion that they did indeed cause the credit crunch.
Well, we could revert back to Jamie Dimon's comments, which is that every 5 to 7 years banking implodes, and then it grows again, and it implodes again. It's purely a cycle, and this cycle has been worse than any other in the last century. But having said that, it's part of the cycle. Now, what we need to do is to have better risk modelling, and the focus on risk and liquidity risk in particular is the focus for the future.
Yeah, but President Nicolas Sarkozy of France says that banks have forgotten their original purpose, which is to grease the wheels of the economy, or wheels of the economy even, very quickly.
Well, Sarkozy might want to have a boring country. But having said that, I'd rather be an exciting one that's got expansion through the financial system like the UK.
Chris, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Chris Skinner there joining us.